Welcome, everyone! Today, we're diving headfirst into one of the most complex fantasy worlds I have ever come across. We're going to deconstruct the whole thing, unpacking the fundamental laws of its universe from the totally physical all the way to the deeply metaphysical.
So, we're kicking things off with this quote because honestly, it's the absolute heart of this world's entire magic system. This is a place where belief, your experiences, your convictions, they aren't just feelings. They can literally be forged into tangible physical power. The question is, how in the world does that happen? Well, to figure that out, we've got to start at the very beginning.
I want you to imagine we're on a journey together, climbing this kind of mythical mountain of knowledge. It's a place where the rules of reality are laid out like lessons, and with each level we climb, we're going to get a little deeper, moving from the basic science of the world to the metaphysics of the soul. Our journey starts right here, on level 1, the physical plane. To get our bearings in this universe, we're going to start with something we all know, water. But as you're about to see, even the most basic elements here are part of this incredibly interconnected and, frankly, super logical system.
Okay, so right off the bat, you see this world is all about balance. Just like here on Earth, if all the water was liquid, everything would be flooded. If it was all ice, nothing could grow. This equilibrium between solid, liquid, and gas, it isn't just a throwaway detail. It is a foundational law that makes life possible. And it does this amazing job of blending real-world science with a fantasy setting.
This is what I find so cool about this world. The internal logic is just so solid. Magic isn't just, waving your hands and saying some words. It's based on actual principles. Here, purifying water isn't some spell. It's a scientific process based on physical properties, size, weight, and evaporation points. It tells you that understanding the how is every bit as important as knowing the what.
And this logical approach applies to the very nature of the elements themselves. Water isn't just one thing. It's incredibly versatile. On one hand, you can use it to create concealing mists in combat or immobilize your enemies with ice. But on the other hand, it's a source of healing, a symbol of tranquility. And here's the kicker. The element itself isn't good or evil. Its purpose depends entirely on the user's intent and, of course, their knowledge. All right, we've got a handle on the physical. Now it's time to ascend to the next level of understanding, the ethereal plane. We're moving beyond what we can see and touch and into the fundamental energy that powers, well, everything in this universe. This is the big question, isn't it? We've seen what water can do, but what's the actual mechanism behind it? What's the energy that someone is channeling to create mist or heal a wound? The answer, it turns out, is a concept that connects every single living thing.
The answer is waves. Think of it like this. You can't see heat, but you can definitely feel it on your skin. You can't see the wind, but you can see it rustling the leaves on the trees. Waves are that invisible energy signature that everything gives off, an imprint left on the world that can be sensed. It's like a whole other layer of perception beyond our 5 basic senses.
And this is where it gets really personal. See, two people might have an affinity for, say, fire, but they won't use it the same way. One might create it through friction, while another focuses sunlight through a lens. That unique method is their wavelength. It's like a spiritual fingerprint, shaped by their experiences, their knowledge, their very identity, making their expression of power completely and totally their own. So we have this cosmic energy called waves, and this personal expression of it called a wavelength. Now, we climb again, this time to the personal plane. This is where we get to see how an individual can actually harness that energy and forge it into a tool that is quite literally an extension of their very soul. Okay, the creation of a sigil is just one of the most profound ideas in this world. It's not something you build, it's something you grow. It all starts with a simple, lingering impression from some experience. That impression then becomes a goal, and that goal becomes a dream that you actively chase. As you defend that dream from everything, it hardens into a conviction. And when that conviction becomes the very definition of who you are, your ideal, it materializes. Your soul's ideal becomes a real physical tool. And get this, these sigils, born from pure ideals, they aren't just some vague, mysterious artifacts. They actually have a logical structure. Let's take a sensory sigil, for example. It has a sensor to capture energy from the world, kind of like a camera lens. It has a converter that translates that energy into a usable form, just like our neurons turn light into electrical signals. And it's got a processor to make sense of it all, which is basically what our brain does. So the magic is deeply personal, sure, but it operates on these understandable, almost technological principles. We've made it. We've reached the final level of the mountain, the philosophical plane. We've gone through the world's physics, its energy, its personal magic. So now we have to ask, what happens when these ideals, these walking, talking soul weapons, clash? What is the nature of conflict in a world like this? So, the central conflict here isn't just about big, flashy physical battles. The main antagonist, a being known only as the Weaver of Calamity, has a very specific and frankly insidious method of attack. It's not about brute force, it's about something way more fundamental to our existence. Yeah, you heard that right. Food. I know it sounds strange, but in this universe, food is this profound metaphor for everything we consume, everything we take into ourselves to survive and grow. And this antagonist has weaponized that very concept. The attack comes on three separate fronts. First, there's the attack on your physical food, literally poisoning your diet or cutting off your resources. Then there's mental food, feeding you misinformation to cloud your judgment so you can't see the solutions right in front of you. And maybe the most devastating of all is spiritual food, using the people around you, your social circles, to demean your identity and attack the very ideal your sigil is made of. So the whole point is this: defense, strength, even survival in this world comes from being mindful of what you consume. It means consciously choosing what you allow into your body, what information you feed your mind, and what influences you let shape your spirit. It's a really powerful metaphor for staying vigilant in an age of, well, information overload. And that brings us right back to where we started. We began with this idea of an ideal brought to life. We've seen how that's built from the ground up, from the physical laws of the universe, all the way to the deepest personal convictions of the soul. So the question I want to leave you with is this: what's the one core ideal that you would defend above all else? If you could forge your own soul into a sigil, what would it be?